Hey guys, it's Dennis here with Revog Games, and this is our weekly games podcast. I'm joined by...
Joshua Weyers, all the way in South Africa.
Yeah, and we have a lot of stuff to talk about this week.
hmm
Sometimes we complain like, oh, there's not enough. This time it's like almost too much stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
with the PlayStation Showcase, which kind of like was PlayStation's answer back to the Xbox, because the Xbox Showcase was a few months ago, and kind of like, even though they had some exclusives, but they kind of like won over people with Game Pass. We've talked about Game Pass many times about how it's the best deal in the gaming industry, and still is. But Sony kind of came back with like, okay, well, we don't have such a good deal in terms of pricing wise, but we have all these exclusive games that you guys don't have. So this is going to be kind of a battle of pricing value, gaming value versus, and with some exclusives, don't get me wrong, Xbox does have some good exclusives, but then you're talking about Sony has kind of the more high profile ones. I mean, let me list them off here real quick and then we'll get into it. I mean, God of War Ragnarok, Spider-Man 2, Wolverine we heard about, even the KOTOR, the Knights of the Old Republic remake is at least I think it's PS4 and PC exclusive, at least a timed exclusive. There's so many things that Sony's kind of doing and putting in the fire. This isn't even including, we already know Horizon Forbidden West is coming out early of 2022. We don't know what the next Uncharted sequel may or may not be. We don't know, so there's a lot of things still. Ghost of Tsushima 2, all that good stuff. So let's start off with the big one. The big one was God of War Ragnarok. Came out. They showed a gameplay trailer. It had some in-game cinematics. What did you think?
I'm stoked for this, honestly. I'm happy we got a trailer this year. We didn't get the game, but we got the trailer. At least we got that. As far as I know, still no real news on the release date.
No.
We just know it's delayed. Yeah, I'm excited for it. There's a bit of not controversy, but some people aren't really happy with the design of Thor. I don't know if you've seen him. You've seen what the Thor design looks like.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of things on Twitter, which is like basically like someone posts like, I can't believe this is Thor, and then people would retweet that and say, tell me you don't know anything about Norse mythology without saying you know nothing about Norse mythology. Like basically.
I was gonna say I like it. Yeah, it's more realistic.
Basically, in the original mythology, that's kind of how he was described. Not the kind of Greek god version that we know from the Marvel MCU universe, because everyone kind of bases everything off of what they have seen.
Yeah.
What the most notable one?
The mythology is hit or miss with Thor. Like, for the most part, he's usually depicted as like big, like, well, girthy, if you will, big burly kind of man. But there are other times where he is portrayed as quite attractive, because one of my favorite stories about Thor is he actually dresses up as a lady and then he seduces, I think, one of the Frost Giant kings into marriage, and then right before getting married, he's like, "Ha! Surprise! I'm Thor!" and then he kills him.
Sounds like something Loki would do.
Yeah, Loki. Like I believe Loki said it. He's the one who set it up. He's the one who suggested it in like Norse mythology. It's one of my favorite stories about it.
Who says girthy people cannot be attractive? See.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Maybe that was. I mean, hey, look, he was marrying a frost giant or troll, or who knows what they look like. Maybe that's what they wanted. Look, I'm excited for this. It seems the voice actor for Atreus is a bit older, which I like about that. Like, they've shown age in, like, the character looks a bit taller, looks the same pretty much, but a bit taller. You know what I mean? Voice actor, it seems like he's gone through puberty, if that makes sense, or like is going through it. So I like the small changes in that. It obviously looks amazing. It's gonna be good. It's just not gonna be bad. Like, this is one of those. It's gonna be like they're gonna hit it out of the park. Like, they know what they're doing. Especially if you've played the first game. I've played the first game. They know what they're doing. They have the formula. It works. I highly doubt they're gonna fuck it up. Like, it's gonna be a great game. You know.
Well, since you and me have been both kind of pretty, like, what's the word for it? I wouldn't say not psychic, but we've been able to predict some of the delays happening. Let's play a little game. When do you think? Because we know when Horizon Forbidden West is coming out. When do you think God of War Ragnarok is coming out?
Well, I'm glad you said that because if you didn't remind me, I would have said February. But because we are getting Horizon in February, the 18th of February, that leads me to believe they're not going to drop both games that
No.
like that. Those are too big of games to drop, even within like the first within 2 months of each other. So I would go so far as to say the earliest we might see this is I want to say June, which is a weird release time for a game, but I just don't see it being earlier than June of next year. That's my guess.
My guess is this, and people are gonna get mad at me.
Like maybe April.
They're gonna
probably June or
they're gonna say May, and then it's gonna get delayed again. that's my prediction. They're gonna say
January, February, April, May. Yeah, May. Yeah.
They're gonna say May, and then it's gonna get delayed again. That's
a good call. Because I think it will come out on May. I don't think they'll delay it.
I think it's gonna get delayed. That's my prediction. Just because you know, this is the first gameplay trailer we've seen. It's September now. I mean, obviously they could have kept a lot of things under wrap, but there's a couple of things that led me to believe this is, or maybe it's just one thing is, watching the trailer, I got pumped for it. It was on a PS5, and it said it was a cross between the gameplay and the in-game cinematics, right? Yeah. So the in-game cinematics look pretty good. Kind of next gen. The gameplay stuff though looked pretty similar to what we saw with PS4, and that's not saying that it looks bad because the God of War on PS4 looked great. But what I'm saying is it didn't look next gen to me, and some people were complaining like, hey, they're reusing the same animations or whatever, and that didn't really bother me that much, but it was more about kind of the lighting and the detail in the models. It just wasn't at the level that you think the next gen is going to be, and I feel like they're going to spend some time on that, sprucing it up. Remember what happened with Halo. Remember when Halo came out and the graphics weren't very impressive? Halo Infinite, I mean. And guess what? They delayed it and they worked on it, and it looks so much better now. So this is kind of my feeling is like they are going to work on that aspect of it in the meantime. So
go ahead. I'm optimistic with the May release date. It's one of those things where I think the reason why I don't think there'll be a delay is it's either going to come out May or they're just not going to tell us when it comes out. That way they don't have to work. That technically there's no delay if they never give us a release date, Dennis. If they just hold off on the release date until they know that they're ready. Santa Monica Studio is not really known for delays either, is the thing. But yeah, only time will tell. I guess we'll see, right?
Yeah. Another thing is, also I'm a little not skeptical because I think the game's going to be great, but just like when you get into that teenage age for characters, it's always hard to keep them from being so annoying, Or
cringy. Yeah. It's difficult to shy away from the cringe because teenagers are cringy.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we were all teenagers. We've been there.
Yes.
We've all had to be the cringe,
Yeah. That, because teenagers, you're at that age where you think you know everything. You think you're the coolest person in the world. You think everyone else, older than you doesn't have a clue. And, you're very selfish at that age. And, like you said, it's everyone was like that. I was like that. Everyone's like that. So
I think there was a controversy around this with one of the characters. I got to look it up. It was, I don't think it's that big of a controversy because it doesn't come off the top of my head, but there was one of the designs that people weren't happy about. God of War. As one of the characters here.
In the meantime, while you look that up, as someone who's only played the last one, who was the little girl at the end? Because they made it seem like that was kind of a almost like a supposed to be like this shock reveal or something like that. Who was?
I was gonna say that's what this that's what some of the controversy is about. People aren't really happy with something to do with her character. I had an article. I'm completely missing it now. Ah, oh well. I'm sure I'll find it and we'll bring it up at some point. But yeah, no, I'm excited for the game. I'm glad they dropped it. Look, it was first of all, like we're gonna get into all the games anyways, but what a hell of a showcase! Like, great showcase. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just the games they dropped, I'm super fucking impressed. KOTOR got me hyped. Like that got me really hyped, KOTOR. And then there were a couple games that I know we're not really going to talk about, but a couple games that really kind of got my interest, which is Project Eve, which looked sick. I think that's coming from like people are saying it's similar to Sekiro, or I think it's coming from it could be from the studio that made Sekiro. But it's got that similar vibe to it. And then Forspoken looked sick as well, which is the new name for I think it was that Project Athea, which is what we saw that the showcase for the Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
The new Unreal Engine, they showed that. So it's now called Forspoken. Changed the character completely, which I like because the character did look very cartoony. But to be fair, it wasn't to show off the character, it was to show off how they could use the Unreal Engine with in terms of like scale, you know, which is amazing. So that's why Forspoken looks great. Like, it doesn't look like the kind of game that I'm gonna remember for the rest of my life, but it looks like I'll get a great couple hours out of it. Looks fun.
The other big, well, there's several big things, but Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 2 was announced, which we knew we were gonna getting. We were getting one. We just didn't know when. It's coming out in 2023, but it showed off more than I thought. I thought it was just going to be kind of a reveal, like, hey, Spider-Man 2 coming 2023, and maybe like a reveal of maybe Venom's, logo or something like that. But we actually got an actual like trailer, which showed off quite a bit of stuff. I mean, visually, it looked more impressive than God of War. I mean, I don't know how much.
I would say it's way more impressive than God of War visually.
Yeah.
Because what we're looking at is in-engine cutscenes, Dennis. That's so impressive. So it looks like a CGI cutscene that they've worked on before the time, but no, that is an in-engine cutscene using like VFX running like real time thanks to the Unreal Engine. Like I watched a video about it, how a lot of CGI artists who work in film and television, they're actually really impressed with the Spider-Man trailer because it's like a great showcase of how we now have the technology to do VFX like in real time with video games. You know what I mean? Like that is insane. Like the fact that that's in look, the game's probably not going to look that good because obviously it's the VFX that's there for the cutscenes, but that's happening in engine. That's still that's in engine. That's impressive,
Yeah, and then they showed off that it's both Peter Parker and Miles Morales because we've got our Peter Parker game with the first Spider-Man, then we had the Spider-Man Miles Morales game, which was like a 75% of a full game, and then now we have Spider-Man 2, which is both these characters are going to be in there, and then we know from the trailer that Venom is going to be a big part of it. Now the voice is where people are kind of debating who they think it is. Some people are saying Kraven, some, maybe it's, who else could it possibly be? Like, I'm trying to think of because the only problem with Kraven is like the way he sounds. Like Kraven the Hunter is an interesting character because he's, he's just a human, so but the accent on his character is Russian, and so like from that accent,
I was gonna say Kraven the Hunter. I feel like I know who you're talking about.
He's the guy that wears his costume.
I was gonna say, isn't he got like the wildest freaking costume?
Yeah, he has like leopard print, and then he has like
what the hell?
Lion,
oh my gosh,
the lion mane, like right here.
I kind of hope it's not him. I'll be honest. Just because that's going to be very loud in this, like that's a very loud outfit to have.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they'll go with something more low key, but yeah, I remember him in the Spider-Man 2 video game on PlayStation 2. They had him in that game, yeah.
So.
Yeah, it just looks so impressive, Dennis. That's insane.
Matt.
I wonder if you'll be able to switch between the two Spider-Man. Like, if
Yeah.
are you just playing as Peter Parker, or will you be able to switch to Miles? Because they did such a good job with Miles,
Hmm.
his own game, and giving him his own like skill tree and well, giving him his own stuff. You know, I think it'd be such a waste to not be able to use that in Spider-Man 2. You know?
Oh, I was wrong about Craven. He does have superpowers because he drank some potion, so he has some
Yeah.
superhuman abilities. But I don't know. I just never thought of him as like a huge,
No,
huge
he's always
threat
got a
to.
gun or something, right? Because he's a
Yeah,
hunter, like.
yeah.
So you never really think of him using superpowers because he's the crocodile gun. He's the crocodile Dundee of Spider-Man, pretty much.
He says he's also the half brother of Chameleon, and he's one of the founding members of Sinister Six. Yeah, like, I read.
I think we're gonna get a couple. Like, I think we're gonna get a couple of guys in Spider-Man 2. You know, like
Yeah,
yeah,
but
did we get Rhino in the first game? In the previous Spider-Man? I can't remember.
well, I never finished it. So.
I did, but I don't remember it. I think it was the lizard. I think it was the lizard man,
Uh,
not
oh,
Rhino.
side.
Actually, it could have been both of them.
Yeah. Side note. So, you know how like Ghost of Tsushima director's cut came out. I got it, but it hadn't had time to play it. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I tried to play it the other day, and guess what? My controller is broken again. Remember, I had that big
no.
controller problem, and
Yeah.
then I fixed it on my own. And then I guess because I hadn't used it for a while, and maybe dust had gotten inside, it's like worse than ever. So I
I was
tried.
gonna say if you get yourself a tiny screwdriver,
Oh,
open that thing up,
yeah, I
clean
did
out
that
the
before.
analogs.
I did that before.
Oh, and it didn't help.
Oh, it helped last time, but it's just
Oh yeah,
like
but yeah, it's a mission. You got to do it though. Like I had to do it. I've taken apart. Well, what controller are you using? The PS4 controller?
yeah. So I
Yeah, I've
honestly,
taken apart a couple of those to like replace batteries and stuff. It's a mission.
yeah, I bought a generic whatever because those things are expensive. They're like $60 for a PS4.
Yeah, they're $60.
It's a
Yeah.
PS4 controller. We're already on PS5.
No, I know. It's crazy.
So I bought a generic third-party one. I'll see how it works. I mean, I'm afraid it's gonna like break or something like that because
Yeah.
apparently a lot of these things. It's just I don't know if I can justify $60 for a controller for a system that I'm probably
No
gonna
ways,
be
man.
upgrading
Here-
relatively soon. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
if
I
I'm gonna
needed a controller recently. What I did was I bought a cheap, well, not a cheap. I bought a fairly decent wired controller because it was wired. It was cheaper, and I was still able to get something that was fairly decent. You know, which wasn't too bad.
I mean,
It's obviously just not wireless, but
the generic one I bought's wireless, but it's very cheap. It's like $25. So,
yeah,
I'm
that's not too bad. Yeah.
I'm kind of gambling. Anyways, back to Spider-Man. Looks good. They're gonna have Venom for sure, and then maybe Kraven is the big boss. I mean, I just wonder who the big boss is gonna be.
It's another easy win though. Like I said, like God of War Ragnarok, easy win for them. Spider-Man 2, easy win for them. I'm like 100% sure that God of War 2 might get a perfect 10 again. You know, from IGN and from a lot of reviewers, I think it's going to get another perfect 10. Spider-Man 2, I can see it getting like an 8.5 or a 9 again. It's going to be another hit, you know?
So speaking of other first-party games, exclusives, the Wolverine game, which
Yeah.
I was not
out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, Dennis.
and they made the trailer make it so like you didn't know exactly what it was because it's a very short teaser trailer, no gameplay at all. I think it's it's not in-game graphics, but anyways, it's just they purposely show Wolverine from the neck down, and he's wearing a cowboy hat, so you can't see his hair. They're doing all the tricks, right? They have the hat on his hair, so you can't see the Logan/Wolverine hair. You don't see his face, so it's from the neck down, so you don't see the mutton chops, and he's in a bar. And you only see like these people. There's been a bar fight, and as this one guy from the bar fight is still kind of ticking, he comes after Wolverine with a knife, and then only then you see the claws pop out, and then it's Wolverine. So
Yeah.
Not much is
I
known. Go ahead.
I do like the clip though because it's very much like it's how they introduced him in the X-Men cinematic universe
Hmm.
in the first with the first movie from like 2002 or something, or it could be older than that. I'm not too sure, but that's how they introduced his character. And like even in like movies and cartoons, and there's been a few times where he's just been introduced at a bar. Like that's the first time you ever
Hmm.
see him is at a bar, and he's always usually introduced as like in a bar fight because it's very much his character. I like that. Um, I'm a little worried because it's from Insomniac, and I love Insomniac as a
Hmm.
studio. It's just that they usually deal with more cartoony subjects, if you will. Or
Hmm.
even then, like they did a game that I love called Sunset Overdrive, but also once again had a very like cartoony kind of palette to it.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, as long as they can get that feel of realism, then the gameplay is going to be good. I trust Insomniac to do a great job with the gameplay.
Hmm.
I trust them; they're going to nail that. I just hope it looks good. You know what I mean? That's my biggest worry. Because like with even with this trailer, you can tell it's like a heavy CGI. Like 3 years from now, 4 years from now, when we get the game, it's not going to look a thing like this, or this cutscene's not even going to be in the game. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like this is basically proof of concept.
Yeah.
Essentially. So yeah, I'm excited for it because the last Wolverine game kicked ass. Like people slept on that game and it kicked ass. I think it was for the PS3 and it
Hmm.
had like some impressive like features that I still to this day have not seen in video games. Like you can run around as like the previous Wolverine game. You could run around, get shot, and like cut and stuff, and your body would start taking damage. And the more damage you take, you would almost be walking around as like a skeleton at one point because you'd be have like chunks of your body missing. But as you're moving around, you literally see it slowly heal up. Not
Hmm.
like quickly, like oh look at the cool effect. Like just as you're playing the game, it'll slowly heal up, and that's such a cool thing. Like anyways, it's sick. So there's a lot of potential for this game. Like the last Wolverine I played kicked ass. Like it's just gonna be fun. You're just gonna be slaughtering like hordes of soldiers probably. You know what I mean? It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Um, I
Someone
have
had.
a feeling it's not gonna have anything to do with any other X-Men or any other superpowers. I have a feeling it's gonna. I don't think we're gonna bump into like maybe the main villain will have be a mutant or something, but I have a feeling it's gonna be like a war themed game probably.
So
I just have
Insom
that feeling.
so Insomniac has confirmed this Wolverine game is part of the same Marvel gaming universe as Spider-Man. So instead of the
Oh, interesting.
MCU, it's the MGU. Uh,
Okay.
so they said that they don't think the tone's going to be, even though someone had asked Brian Horton, who's the creative director, about the game. He said it's going to be a full-size game, so not like Miles Morales, and that it's going to be a mature tone. So doesn't mean that it's going to be M rating, but it's going to be more blood and
Got to be gritty.
guts. More
Got
blood
to be
and guts,
gritty,
yeah.
dark, yeah, and edgy. You know, there's got to be a lot of edgy dialogue, 100%.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. As I have high hopes for this, but also a sprinkle of salt. You know, it
Hmm.
would be cool if this game smashes it and they're able to actually create like the Marvel gaming universe. That would be so sick.
Hmm.
And there's also like money in Sony's pocket because PlayStation has pretty much like the exclusive rights to. Well, they didn't have the rights, but Marvel and PlayStation are very tight. You know.
Hmm.
Hopefully one day Microsoft and DC can get really tight. That's the hope.
Yeah. All right, so moving on, we had mentioned this before, the Knights of the Old Republic remake. They had a teaser trailer. Um, they're still working on the game. Did they give a release date here? I'm trying to see.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, it's still you don't even see any gameplay footage. It's just basically
Yeah.
Darth Revan coming out of the shadows with some voiceover on top of it. They had a short
Mm.
interview with the developer, and they talked about basically what's going to be different. It was very vague answers, basically saying yes that it's going to keep the same soul, but it's going to obviously the graphics are going to be much more improved.
Yeah.
But we don't know anything about like, are they going to redo the voice acting? Are they going to redo the combat system? I think redoing the combat system is probably a must because
That's 100% gonna happen. Maybe they'll do what they did with Final Fantasy, where it's like we updated the combat completely, but we've also added a classic option in the settings that you can switch to. You know, that would be cool for people that do want to take it a bit more easy. You know, um, I do think that they'll redo the dialogue because there was a lot of text in that game. You know what I mean? A lot of reading. So I'm hoping that they can streamline that by adding a lot more dialogue that wasn't there before, or we'll just like adding more voiceovers. You know what I mean? Like the dialogue's there, just hopefully they can record more of it so you don't have to read as much. It'll also just add a bit more to the immersion. You know?
Yeah. So there is no release date, but people are thinking 2023 because that's the 20th anniversary of the game. The original came back in 2003. This is one of my favorite games of all time. I do hope they redo the combat system.
No, they definitely will. There's no way
modernize it.
There's no way they're not going to. They're gonna they're gonna modernize the crap out of it. You know what I mean? I have a feeling that they'll go full blown like RPG with this. We're not gonna have like I don't know. It's gonna be very different. You know what I mean? I feel like the essence of the game is gonna be there and it's gonna be good. But I think the gameplay mechanics are gonna be very, very, very different. They have to modernize it. You know, it's just one of those things. Otherwise, they may as well just have done a retexture. You know?
Yeah.
Like give us a 4K texture pack or something if they were gonna keep it the same.
But it sounds like it's going to have an exclusive launch on PS5 and PC, and with probably an Xbox version down the line, which is kind of interesting. I mean, I guess because I have a PC, it's not that big a deal to me. If I only had an Xbox, I guess I would be a little more upset that I couldn't play this right away. Speaking of remakes, we also have the Alan Wake remastered. So this was not a remake. This is a remastered. So you're not getting anything. I don't think you're getting anything new here in terms of any type of story, gameplay, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's purely going to be
a graphical update.
Yeah, graphical update, which is
good.
It's good, but I guess because I have the PC version, I originally played the original on the Xbox. And then I played it twice on there, and then I recently played it on the PC again. And so for me, like some of that stuff it hasn't been remastered, but already been upgraded. So I don't know how much of a difference. I'm sure there will be, but I'm just wondering what the difference is going to be with the remastered.
You'll see the main difference in the cutscenes.
Yes,
because I played Alan Wake recently on PC, and I upped the I upped the graphics on. I had everything running on max.
Yeah.
Where the in-game looked better than the cutscenes.
Yes.
Like so that's the problem with the original game. So at least with this, it's like the cutscenes do look fresh, like just from what we saw, you know. So they're gonna re-up which is Alan Wake it's a good story, you know. You want those new cutscenes, you want that fresh cutscenes, and it's good because a lot of people didn't actually play Alan Wake. A lot of people did play it, but a lot of people just kind of missed it, you know. Like they didn't like. It's not that it did badly, just a lot of people just kind of missed it, or like
it was an Xbox/PC exclusive, so no one on the PlayStation played it.
That's true, yeah.
So they're kind of emphasizing it being on the PlayStation.
A lot of people slept on it. So, but it's gonna be that's gonna be quite cool.
Yeah, and this one's coming out fairly soon. This is October 5th.
And we'll get it on Game Pass at some point, I think.
Probably. So I don't know. I mean, as someone who I'm talking about a few months ago. I think was it a few months ago, or maybe it was late last year. I can't remember. It's either earlier this year or late last year.
I think it was. I think it was this year. I think you told me about it because it's on Game Pass.
Yeah, so I played the whole thing all over again. So I think I can hold off on the remaster for a little bit.
Well, I think it'll come to Game Pass, not like right away, but eventually, because they do have Control and the original one on Game Pass, so they'll most likely get the remaster as well.
Yeah. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. They had another trailer at the PlayStation Showcase. It was kind of more of a story, a narrative trailer, less about the gameplay and just more about
The current! I think I'm having a heart attack!
Story, yeah.
Cease this
Which, in my opinion, is the only redeeming quality of this game.
Peter Quill.
Is the
Not
story-
fun.
the story
Osmo!
Because I will say the combat looks fine. It just looks repetitive. Like it looks fun but repetitive. You know, like really repetitive. Like there's no way that like from all the footage I've seen, it looks really repetitive. But at least like you're doing fun stuff. It's like if you're just mashing one button the entire game kind of stuff. I don't think it's gonna be like that, but it's probably gonna be. It's not going to be. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of levels of complexity or strategy. It's going to be very much like you're blasting people, you know, and you're doing it however you want to do it, and it's going to be fun but repetitive. But as long as if the story slaps, then I think it'll be worth $60. You know,
we'll see. I
as
think
long
that's
as the story slaps.
I think for me, that's like going to be like, let me see what people are saying about it before I decide to pick it up.
It's one of those games where if you didn't want to play it, I think you could get away with watching it on YouTube and enjoying it just as much. Just like Death Stranding. Like you might not want to play Death Stranding, but you can watch all the cutscenes on YouTube or something, you know, or watch someone like do the mashup. Same with this game. They're probably you could experience it that way too, you know? But I think that the combat will be good enough to carry you through the cutscenes, if that makes sense. Like you're not going to be hating your life playing the game. You're going to be like, okay, I'll just get through this and then I'll get another funny cutscene, you know?
Ghostwire Tokyo, a trailer showed up.
Hype. Sorry, I'm so freaking hyped for that, Dennis, because that looks fun. Like you talk about a game that looks fun and exciting and fast. That's it for me, man.
That's coming out spring 2022. I think it was supposed to come out this year, but ended up getting delayed.
Yeah.
Just it looks cool. Very like. You have these like superpowers and you're running through Tokyo and fighting different enemies.
You're using like there's like a certain part of Japanese lore that you're kind of going through. I might not know it too well, but it's to do with barriers or kekai. They call it kekais, which is like literally why the guy's holding his hand like that, because he's like sealing away demons. Like that's like his main ability. But they've turned it into like a combat move, which is so cool. It reminds me a lot of Shadow Warrior. If it has that same vibe as Shadow Warrior. I mean, it's not gonna have the comedy, but it has that like fast-paced, like demon slaying hordes of demons. You know, like melee combat spells. This game doesn't have guns, but it could if it wanted to. You know. Yeah, I'm stoked for that. I am stoked for this game.
So this
is this an exclusive? If it's an exclusive, I'm gonna be sad.
I think it is a timed exclusive. But let's talk about that in a little bit.
Games like this and games like Returnal are the type of games that will make me buy a PS5.
Well, for me, it's going to be like Ghost of Tsushima 2, whatever they do with God of War and Ragnarok.
I mean, God of War, of course. I've got to get a PS5 for God of War 2.
Yeah. Let me see what the actual... It is timed exclusive for PS5, but it's going to be on Windows. It's going to be on Windows.
It's got to. It's so fast-paced. You need a mouse and keyboard for that, you know?
Windows and PS5, timed exclusive, so I think eventually it'll come out on Xbox. But
I mean, I'd prefer to play this on PC. That's the kind of game I prefer to play on PC.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more because this is connected to the conversation I want to have with Deathloop a little bit later. So let me talk about the one last thing at PlayStation, and then let's wrap up the whole PlayStation thing, and then let's get into Deathloop. So the last thing I have is the Grand Theft Auto 5 and Grand Theft Auto Online PlayStation Showcase trailer. Apparently, there's kind of a huge backlash of this, not because the game is hated, because people love the game. It's just that people are just sick of hearing about Grand Theft Auto 5 and they don't need to. There's been so many iterations. Only Skyrim has had more. The one benefit for Skyrim is, one, it's older, and two, it doesn't involve any type of kind of microtransactions.
Yeah.
where Grand Theft Auto 5 or Grand Theft
Has
Auto
a lot.
Online does, and that's kind of why they're pushing all this stuff.
I will say it's not that it's okay. It's not like it's gotten less in the future years, but as the years have gone on, it's they give away so much money. Like if you're playing GTA Online, like if you're playing a lot of it, like sometimes they'll just give you a couple $1,000,000. Like they're like, hey, if you log on now, you get it. Like, and at that point, like you really don't have to spend the money if you're an active player, you know, which is cool. But it is obviously people spend a lot of money on that game. They just do, you know. I think if you wanted to buy a yacht in that game with real time money, it's still going to cost you like $150 or something, you know, to get yourself a real yacht in that game.
All right, let's
Hold on. Sorry, I will say I do think it looks good. Like the graphics, it's one of those things where I'm not going to play it because I've played GTA 5 100 times over. But if some like kid out there has never played the game before and they have a PS5, this would be the best way to play the game. It does look. The thing is, it looks how it runs on my PC right now. You know. So, which is why another reason why I'm not too bothered about it, because that's what it looks like on my PC currently. But
yeah,
I think
that's
it'll
why
be cool. It's
that's
cool,
why
yeah.
looking at the trailer, I'm like, oh, that's kind of what I've been playing recently on my PC. Grand Theft Auto 5, I mean.
It's gonna look cool for, like I said, it's cool for people who have never played it, which is very few people. You know, it's gonna be people who are too young to play it, unfortunately, that are gonna be the people who are enjoying this most. But hey, you can't stop teenagers from playing Grand Theft Auto. It's never gonna happen.
Yeah. All right, let's
but
kind
of before we completely, I just want to list the other games
okay.
from the showcase before we completely move on. Spider-Man, we talked about KOTOR, Ragnarok. They showcased more of Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and now that they've showcased the gameplay for it, I remember when they announced this, I said I was excited for it. I'm a bit less excited for it now because it does involve a lot more guns than I thought. I thought it would be more fantasy themed, you know, and it is very fantasy themed, but it's still Borderlands essentially, you know. And I think you do get a couple powers, but it's still very much Borderlands. I was hoping for like more of a fantasy theme. Then we have Project Eve, which I'm excited for. That looks really good actually. Graphics wise, the combat, it's another Souls-like inspired game. Some people are relating it to Sekiro. It looks good, Dennis. It looks good. It reminds me of Bayonetta as well. But yeah, and then we have Forspoken, which is the new name for Project Athea, which was what they used for the new Unreal Engine showcase a while ago. They showed it off. They're like, hey, look at how many statues are in this room, and look at the giant mountains, and look at how quickly we're rendering them and loading them in. They changed the main character, thank goodness, because the main character just kind of looked like a polygon. There wasn't much to her. But yeah, it's looking really good. It's looking fun. I still don't know a thing about this game, but it looks beautiful and it looks fun. Forspoken, like definitely, it's like an action platformer. I'm here for it. That looks good. They also showed off Rainbow Six Extraction, which there's nothing to say there. It's just more Rainbow Six. We got the Alan Wake remaster, GTA 5. I think we covered the rest. Oh right, they showed off Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt, which I've been playing all week, by the way. It's amazing. I don't see it having a lot of longevity as a battle royale, but it's fun. It's the kind of game, if I was a professional streamer, I wouldn't be streaming this game because I don't think it's entertaining to watch. Like there's no esports for the league for this. It's entertaining to play. It's so satisfying to get kills though as a vampire, and it's like you and your other two vampire buddies running around. You're picking up like weapons, melee weapons is where it's at. The game starts you off with like a pistol. You have different factions, different abilities. It's pretty good, and it's free. So if you're watching this, if that's something you like, if you like the lore of Vampire the Masquerade, the tabletop game, or the RPG from the 90s, then check this out. We are still going to be getting a sequel to the RPG. We are going to be getting an RPG next year, hopefully. But in the meantime, they've released this, which kind of like also gives us a vibe of what the RPG is going to look like, because the graphics for this is pretty good. Even though it's a battle royale, the graphics are pretty good. Like they kind of got like, I believe you're playing in Prague, which is the first city. I will say, having played the game all week, they need to either lower the amount of players in the map or they need to make a bigger map. Because there's a lot of the times where you just start the game and you're like immediately in a fight. And if you lose that, you just spent like 5 minutes loading into a game that only lasted a minute. And that's frustrating. So hopefully they can fix that. And then, which we're going to talk about now as well. They obviously showed off more Deathloop.
Mm-hmm.
And then this Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection, which there's so many out there. There's a couple other things, but I don't think they're that interesting to talk about. Gran Turismo 7, that's just another Gran Turismo game. It's going to look good. It's going to play good. There's nothing else to know about that. But yeah, then we got Deathloop. We may as well talk about the Deathloop
No.
reviews.
Before we talk about Deathloop, let's talk about overall, what does this do for Sony? Because we talked about kind of Xbox kind of winning 2021 by default, right? Because PlayStation basically pushed back both of their big first-party games, and then Xbox is having Halo Infinite, and they're having a bunch of other cool stuff coming out, including stuff on Game Pass, like Back for Blood's going to be on Game Pass. You know what I mean? Like, there's just a lot of cool things going on with Xbox, and they were able to do a pretty good showing. Now Sony comes back here with a lot of exclusive games. Now these games aren't coming out this year. They're not coming out. Most of them are not coming out next year. But we see like this exclusive first party games from Sony that will sell systems. How does that work? What do you think that combats what Xbox is doing with Game Pass and their first party games?
I don't think timed exclusives is gonna make anybody any money, really, unless you have something that is so incredible. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying Deathloop isn't. Deathloop could be the most incredible game either. It's just it's just not a known franchise either. You know what I mean? Like, I'm waiting. I'm not gonna go buy a PS5 to play Deathloop. It's probably gonna come to Game Pass, and I believe there's been rumors that Deathloop is coming to Game Pass.
I'm pretty sure it will be. I mean, it's owned.
Yeah.
It was Arcane Studios, which was under the Bethesda umbrella, or was it under the Bethesda umbrella, or was it under the ZeniMax umbrella? I can't remember.
It could be ZeniMax.
Yeah. Anyways, it's owned by Microsoft now, and kind of the conversation I want to have, because we'll talk about Deathloop, which is getting good reviews, and we can talk about it with Ghostwire as well. Is temporarily, I feel like these timed exclusive things are positive, short-term positive for PlayStation, but long-term negative, because let's say Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo end up being, I don't know how big a hits they're gonna be, but at least like somewhat of a hit, or at least beloved.
I think Deathloop has what it takes to become a cult classic. Like, it'll be beloved for years, but it's the kind of thing where after you've really nailed that game, you're probably never gonna play it again. Like, from all the amazing reviews I've seen, all the reviews are amazing, but everyone is saying, hey, once you've played this game, there's not too much replayability. You know what I mean?
But what I'm saying is the next Deathloop 2, let's say this is successful, Deathloop 2, that will be an exclusive for Microsoft, Xbox, and PC. I mean, that's just
true.
We know that. That's what's going to happen. So it's same with Ghostwire. So like these kind of short-term victories in these timed exclusives kind of actually will end up benefiting Xbox in the long run. But my main point, though, was to talk more about PlayStation and what they're doing with, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Spider-Man 2, Wolverine. We're going to see Ghost of Tsushima 2 in the future. We don't know what they're going to do with the Last of Us franchise, the Uncharted franchise. But all these games that are coming out exclusive for Sony, can they sustain what they're doing? Because everyone's loving these games, but in terms of the business model / pricing model, how long can that keep going?
I think God of War will do a very good job, not entirely on its own, but I think God of War, that franchise, right? They said themselves that they have enough lore and backstory for 6 games in total, if they wanted to, right? That's a good, like, possibly 2 decades for PlayStation, where that's exclusive, and people will buy a PlayStation 5 to play God of War. There's no way you play the first God of War and you're just like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to figure out what happens to the rest of these characters or what the hell's happening. There's no way. So you're gonna play it. Like even me, like I'm gonna grind my ass off to get a PS5 so I can play that game when it comes out one day. You know, I'm gonna grind, and if I can't, then I'm gonna literally beg a friend if I can borrow his and play it. Like spend a weekend and try to just crush it in a weekend. You know what I mean? Like that kind of game, Spider-Man. Those two types of games will keep like they will keep people playing on PlayStation, and it will. I think it will. It's not gonna. Here's the thing: these games aren't gonna make them more popular. It's not gonna make PlayStation more popular. It's not gonna. It's just gonna keep the people there. I will say. It's not like you're gonna be bringing new customers in. I mean, you'll get people buying the PS5, but they're people who have owned the PS4 or the PS3. You know, they're like people buying into PS5 now aren't first time people because it's like it's continuing IPs. It's not really new fresh things coming out, you know what I mean? Xbox keeps having new fresh IPs dropping all the time because they keep acquiring studios. But yeah, I think it'll carry. I think it will carry PlayStation for a while. Long term, I mean, like more than a decade from now, who knows? But at least for the next decade or so.
So
like,
this you're
people
thinking
will
like
be playing.
So you're saying like this first party, exclusive $60 a game can at least keep Sony going for at least one generation.
$70.
Okay, $70. I forgot about that. I
think it'll carry them throughout this console generation for sure. You know, I think they'll start suffering towards the end of this console generation, and but at that point, hopefully, because look, they are fighting a losing battle with Xbox. There's no way that there's no way I could say otherwise. They're fighting a losing battle with Game Pass. Game Pass is so freaking impressive. You know what I mean? I mean, we got the GeForce. I don't know what GeForce Now is. I need to look into that. I don't know if that's a streaming service too. But the point is, PlayStation, they need to make that move with Netflix. You know what I mean? They need to make that move soon. And and I know Netflix is going to be dipping into the gaming thing, and they've said it's going to be mobile because it's just easier because you can get Netflix on your mobile devices. So it will be mobile, but hopefully they can get to like I said, at the end, we're talking at the end of this console's life cycle. I'm not talking anytime soon, like maybe 5 or 6 years from now. Once we know the cloud streaming gets better, hopefully PlayStation can get themselves more involved with Netflix because they are going to be working together. And yeah, hopefully they can, because at this point, like I still see them doing well. I just do not see them doing a PlayStation 6. You know what I mean? Well, I don't see anybody doing another console. It's probably going to be cloud gaming in general, but it's like I think
it'll be less a console, more of a stick. It'll be like a streaming stick and a controller.
Exactly. It'll be like a stick and a controller. But it's one of those things where I feel like the PlayStation brand will die after the PS5 unless they start making bigger moves. But I do think that God of War, Spider-Man, and even a little bit Horizon. Like Horizon doesn't have it has a bit. People love the game, but people aren't like obsessed with it. Like people are obsessed with the new God of War. Like that was like a life-changing game, and it really was. You know what I mean? So I think it'll carry PlayStation, but like unless they start making moves, I think that the hype's gonna die with the PS5 generation. Just the Sony hype. Look, then again, unless they really just smack it out of the park with the PlayStation VR, which I doubt. But unless they start making some intense bounds with their own VR, or they start making exclusive deals with Oculus or something, or you know what I mean? Because Sony's interested in VR and Microsoft isn't. So that's one thing where they could focus on. And then they are focusing on their VR because they know that you're gonna be able to run a lot better VR games off of the PS5, and you just make a slightly better headset. So they have a couple things in their back pocket. They have what it takes. They got the tools in front of them. Sony just needs to use those tools properly. That's it.
All right. Let's move on to Deathloop, which has been getting pretty good reviews. I think on Metacritic it was 8 point something or 80. I forgot how they calculated, but it was in the 80 percentile. I know IGN gave it a perfect 10. Said it was a masterpiece. It's what's interesting, and I'm sorry, I haven't actually posted the 12 minutes review yet, but I will do that soon. Anyone who played that game 12 minutes, and it's a time loop game as well. I'm not gonna spoil the game, but anyways, the way that they describe Deathloop is basically uses some of the same mechanics of the time loop in 12 minutes, just that it's in a more action oriented way and probably less repetitive than 12 minutes. Just from what I've seen.
Yeah, there is some repetition, but it's like,
Yeah.
I'd say it's also a lot more complex in 12 minutes because the loop is longer, the loop itself that you're in.
The
And it's like,
area.
I remember one of the reviews I remember reading, it said like the one guy said, look, essentially when you finish this game, you're going to do it in like a 15 to 20 minute run. You're going to finish the game in 20 minutes, but it's going to take you 20 hours to figure out how to do that 20 minutes. You know what I mean? That's how these games kind of work. I was reading a lot of reviews on this game and just watching a lot of reviews, and I could tell a lot of reviewers were having difficulty explaining the game without ruining the game, because it's one of those games where the most fun you will have is playing it yourself without any information and figuring it out yourself, figuring out what to do. You know what I mean? If you look up a tutorial online, it defeats the purpose. Like, you know, if you could spend like the 20 hours doing a bunch of things to figure out a certain bit of information, or you can Google that information, and then you've like lost 20 hours of gameplay you could have enjoyed, you know?
Yeah.
So, but it's getting great reviews, and it's being referred to as like a one of a kind. It's kind of its whole own thing. It incorporates a lot of different like mechanics from different games, and it has like a feel of a lot of other games. It looks like it's gonna be really fun. I wouldn't I wouldn't watch anybody play this game. I wouldn't watch someone stream it because it would ruin it, you know?
Yeah.
It's one of those games you got to play it for yourself. Like, it's designed that way. Which I would say is kind of unfortunate for the marketing of the game, because I don't think you'll get a few YouTubers who will play it, you know, like story YouTubers who do full playthroughs of games and stuff like that, but no one's going to be streaming this game that much, you know? It just kind of ruins it, you know?
Yeah.
Or I don't see I don't see people like, at least not now. Maybe like, you know, 6 months from now when people are finding out like weird, wacky ways to complete the game, we'll watch those kinds of playthroughs. But yeah.
There's also an interesting PvP to it. So your character Colt is kind of trying to assassinate these like 8 different people, and that's kind of how the game ends. You got to figure out like how to do it.
You got to kill all 8 of them in one day.
Yeah, and then there's an assassin that was hired to assassinate you, named I think Juliana, is that her name? And she's the one. So she's going to be kind of trying to hunt you down as you're doing this. And so when you play it single player, you can either play it so that the AI has Juliana, and then it's kind of like you're battling the AI, but she kind of pops out of nowhere that kind of breaks things up so things aren't as repetitive. Or a friend or even a stranger, if you allow it to be, can take that role of Juliana, and their job is to try and kill you.
That's sick.
Yeah.
That's sick.
So it kind of makes things a lot more interesting instead of just, you know, doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. Well, it adds a whole level of complexity to it. That does add replayability as well, because that was my main worry with the game is, like I said, replayability. Once you've played it, once you know how to kill the 8 people, it's kind of, that's the end of the game, you know? But if you have someone who's hunting you and it's a real person, you never know what they're going to do. You know, there's no way of telling. So you have to come up with new ways to kill these 8 people, even if you know where they're going to be or what their weaknesses is or whatever it is. You're still going to have to try to figure out how to go around the person hunting you. I like that. That adds a layer of replayability that I didn't really know about.
Yeah. All right, so it's been getting good reviews. I could buy it on the PC, but I probably will hold off on it because I do pretty sure it will be coming to Game Pass at some point. I mean, Microsoft owns it. I believe it's probably a 6 months timed exclusive, so I can kind of wait. I know the buzz is happening right now on it, but I don't think, as long as I stay away from spoilers for it, I can hopefully play it with kind of, you know, without getting anything spoiled at all. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. This is kind of a big news that Epic versus Apple finally ruling kind of came down on it, which was kind of interesting because it's not so clear cut in the sense of if people don't remember, Epic and Apple were battling out because Epic was saying that they thought the 30% margin that Apple was taking in their App Store was too much, and it was like a monopoly, and they couldn't do anything about it. And so Epic would try to kind of go around that by being able to sell like, currency or whatever within the game itself. Apple responded by kicking off Epic's app from the store. And they've been kind of battling it out. And so the ruling was basically Apple's non-monopoly and did not violate antitrust laws, but they did say that the 30% take was unjustified. And they could not understand why Apple could ask for that type of percentage. What's your take on the whole thing?
In my opinion, like, what a letdown. It's such a stalemate. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, did Epic really win? It doesn't feel like a victory. You know what I mean?
I don't think so, because I think they owe Apple money now or something like that.
And Apple still has the right to say, no, you can't have your game on Apple. Like, at the end of the day, Fortnite's not coming back to Apple. It's just not, which is a loss for them, because look, the amount of money they could be making from mobile is huge. I mean, it's not going to change the fact that they're already making bank, and they're going to continue to make bank for like the foreseeable future, with all the deals they're doing. But it does suck for the mobile players, and it does suck for their earnings, because the mobile players did spend a lot of money as well. Yeah, it's just weird, man. It's just weird. I don't really know, like, what did they get out of this? You know what I mean?
It says that the ruling was mostly in Apple's favor, though Epic won a specific battle with an injunction forcing Apple to allow developers to link to outside payments within their app. So you can link to outside payments, but you cannot make the payment actually through the actual app.
So it is a victory for developers, not for Epic. They won one for the developers, which, to be fair, that is one of the things that they said a year ago when they got into this. They said, we're doing this for the industry, which is nice of them. I don't think that they were expecting it to be this much of a loss for them, where like they can't go back onto mobile devices, like where it's like, hey, now guess what? If you were an Apple, you could use the third-party purchasing options that you did, the thing that got you into trouble in the first place. However, Apple, at the end of the day, the court has ruled in the favor of that Apple can choose whether they want your app or game on their phone. It doesn't matter. It could be the best app in the world. If Apple's like, we don't like it, boom, they can disappear. If you design an app that like can tell you who is pooped where and what time in the world, Apple could be like, we love that. It's at the end of the day, it's their phone, which I get. They get final say as to what is on the App Store and what is not on the App Store. I believe that unfortunately, one of the things they lost on was allowing other people to make their own app stores on Apple, and that's something that they lost against. Apple still kind of has that. Well, and Google, and they kind of have those monopolies of like, you can't have your own launcher on the phone. You can't have your own app store on the phone. You know what I mean? Like, I can't have Google Play on my iPhone. Which sucks, because at the end of the day, I think it would be like if it truly was a free, like, it does seem like a monopoly to me. You know what I mean? If you're not allowed to have third-party app stores on your phone, it's like, hey, all purchases. Well, at least now it's not all purchases have to be made through them. They won that part, So now you can make purchases through other people. You don't have to pay that 30%. Good for you. But like, we're never going to see a different app store, And I really hoped one day to maybe see. It sounds lame, but I would have liked to have seen an Epic app store on mobile, one day, but that's not going to happen now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the relationship's sullied. Epic and Apple are like, they
enemies
now.
Yeah,
like,
Epic
they're
said
never going to work together.
Epic said, despite losing this ruling, they're not bringing Fortnite back to Apple. It's not coming back. So
yeah, because they don't have to. Yeah.
If you want to play Fortnite on mobile, then you need an Android.
Yeah. Which we still don't know if it is coming back to Android. They just said they haven't said, because at the end of the day, Google can still be like, no,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I don't think Google's gonna do that. You know?
Yeah.
If anything, I'm sure Google and Epic will meet halfway, and they'll like be like, "Hey, come back at a reduced price," rather than linking to outside. Because Google would still like Epic could still do that, but like they could link all their purchases to outside stuff, and Google can make 0% of it. But Google can still say, "No, we don't want your game on our stuff." So hopefully they can talk to Google and be like, "Hey, we want in on the App Store, and instead of doing third-party payments, we will use Google payments just at a lower rate if possible." Because that'll be good for both Google and Fortnite, you know, and the freaking poor kids at home who can't afford a console or a freaking gaming PC, you know, like I hate it when people like crap on mobile gamers. A lot of mobile gamers, that's all they have. That's all they have, man. You know, like you got to use what you got, you know, and you enjoy and play games the way you can.
All right. Last thing on my list is Halo Infinite. The multiplayer preview is going to be open to everyone on September 24th. So they said if you are a registered Halo Insider as of September 13th, which was yesterday, you are eligible to participate.
Did I miss it?
You might
or
have.
or can I still sign up, or did I miss it?
I would.
What is it?
I would try and sign up and see.
They said by then.
Yes.
Oh well.
As of or eligible. Oh wait, it says September 14th.
Okay, so yeah, I still got time.
Before which
yeah,
is today.
I gotta do it today though.
Yeah, I would sign up today. I will send you that.
Sign
link.
up before September 14th. Yeah, send me the link. I'll do it right now.
Okay. So, anyways, I was not able to get on the beta before. Now everyone could be on the beta, and I'm very looking much forward to it because I haven't really been into Halo for a little bit, and it's from what I'm hearing about both the multiplayer and the campaign, it seems like it's a good time to come back to one of my favorite franchises. So, and it looks like a lot of people are going to be able to do that as well. And the game's not coming out until December, so it'll be nice to kind of get a little preview and feel for how it is. So I just sent you that. What else is kind of going on?
There was a leak with Nvidia GeForce Now, which leaked a bunch of potential sequels. But as of us filming this, Nvidia, sorry, I was just signing up for this Halo thing right now. I'm not going to miss it. As of the recording of this, Nvidia had to put out a statement saying that a lot of the leaks were in fact speculative. The word they used is speculative. So I'm not too sure if that's them trying to cover their asses, where it's like, no, half of these games aren't true. But like that still means a good chunk of the games that were leaked are real. You know what I mean? And the list is long. Like it would take too long to go through the list. But like, I'll go through a couple that are like important. Most of the games I'm not going to list because they're already out. You know, it's just games that are going to be coming to GeForce Now, which I still need to figure out what that is. It seems like it might be a subscription service. Helldivers 2 caught my interest because I like the first Helldivers. Let's see. Well, let's see. A Chrono Cross remaster. That's the one that stuck out the most for me because I love Chrono Trigger. I never got to play Chrono Cross. Well, I got to play it through an emulator, but it wasn't the same. But there's a possible Chrono Cross remaster. People are really hyped about that. The Final Fantasy VII remake will be coming to it, but they also said there's going to be a Final Fantasy IX remake, which I think will just be a retexture. Because that's one of the games that hasn't gotten that's one of the older Final Fantasies that hasn't gotten a retexture yet. Most of them have, and it's because it has a very interesting art style. But then there was Kingdom Hearts 4, which is a lot of hype. People were like, oh, we haven't heard anything about a potential Kingdom Hearts 4. The game kind of ended, not on a cliffhanger, because the Kingdom Hearts 3 kind of finished the whole story of Kingdom Hearts, whilst also setting up a potential, new thing. So we could be getting it. A lot, like I said, a lot of these, they're saying they're speculative. They're not saying which ones could be speculative, which ones can't be. This seems cool. Mirror's Edge, the RTX remaster. That sounds like something I could get behind. I love Mirror's Edge. If it can now play it with RTX, that would be sweet. Titanfall 3. That was a leak.
What?
Yeah. Tekken 8, Titanfall. Like I said, I think a lot of these are like games that possibly Nvidia was like, oh, there's gonna be a sequel for eventually. But how I don't know, because how do you pull a Chrono Cross remaster out of your ass? Like there's been no talk about that. So some of these have to be legitimate, you know what I mean? And they just haven't been spoken. But then again, with studios, you never know. Where it's like, hey, they could tell someone, hey, we're gonna make this game, and then they never do, you know? Just because until it gets announced to the public, the game never truly gets made, you know? Like they could choose to not work on it. Tekken 8, that looked interesting. Crisis 4, Bayonetta 3, Half-Life 2 remastered, Injustice 3, a new Destroy All Humans, XCOM 3, Payday 3. There's a lot of games that I'm not reading because they're not sequels. They're like games you've already played. A Goat Simulator 2, which makes sense. Like that seems like a game that would happen, you know. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3: The Black Order, which I think that seems cool because I think that Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 was on the Switch only. I could be wrong about that. But at the end of the day, the people who are the thing that's gotten the most excitement seems to be the Kingdom Hearts 4 and possible Chrono Cross leak. I'm surprised people aren't talking about the Titanfall 3 leak. Like once again, the only thing that leaked was the name Titanfall 3 on their thing. Like I'm just baffled people aren't talking about that. But yeah, that's pretty much the only other bit of news I have. Yeah, that's all I got, which is interesting. I hope these leaks are true because I love Kingdom Hearts. I'd love to get a fourth game. Kingdom Hearts 3 was so short. It was beautiful, fun, but so short. And yeah, Chrono Cross remastered, that would be sick. And yeah, Titanfall 3 would also be sick, you know?
Yeah. It's one of my favorite FPS's campaigns that I've played. So.
Like that also just seems too arbitrary to pull out of nowhere. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why would you speculate that there'd be a Titanfall 3? Or like I said, the biggest thing that's freaking me out is how can you speculate a Chrono Cross remaster, a game that's like 20 years old, hasn't been spoken about since. How can you speculate a remaster for that? So there has to be a remaster for Chrono Cross. There's no way that you pull that out of thin air and just say, oh, we're speculating. No.
Maybe they did it just to make it look believable. Who knows?
Maybe, you know. I mean, look, if anything, this could also be like the most genius marketing ever for, like, I still don't know what GeForce Now is, but this has been great marketing for them because now I'm talking about it and now I need to figure out what it is, you know?
All right, is there anything else?
Nope, that's about it.
Cool.
I'm just quickly making sure that I get in on this
Halo. Yeah, so
thing.
we both can play some of
So
the
we can both
multi.
play it for sure, yeah.
Cool. All right, guys.
I will say, other than that, what was I playing lately? We spoke about already, Bloodhunt. I've been playing a lot of Bloodhunt, a lot of Valorant. And then there was a game they recently added to Game Pass called Breathage, which is like a survival game.
Yeah,
in space.
I saw that. I put it on my queue.
Yeah, it's actually quite. It's quite.
Did you play it?
It's quite fun and interesting. Yeah, it has like a slight humorous tone to it. It's a bit tricky. It is a survival game at the end of the day. It is slow, but I like it. It reminds me a lot of Subnautica, where it's like you have your base because you only have limited air. So when you want to leave the spaceship to go get materials to come back to your base to craft. And there's like a story. I haven't gotten far into it because the game's kind of tricky. Like for a survival game, there's no enemies. It's just difficult to like find the parts you need, you know, in space. Like, to be fair, but that is a good game. I recommend it. Well, I don't highly recommend it, but I recommend it to people if you like survival games.
Yeah, it's on Game Pass. Gonna check it out. That's the beauty of Game Pass. Check out the games you wouldn't give a chance or wouldn't pay for, but hey, if they're on something you already subscribe and pay for, might as well. All right, guys. I guess that's it for this episode. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Revog. You can find us on Twitter at Revog Games. Also, subscribe to this podcast on Spotify or Anchor.fm. You can follow me on Twitter at ThinkHero or Instagram Dennis.tzng. Josh, where can people find you?
You guys can find me right on the Revog Discord channel, or you guys can find me on Twitch at Josh_Toki, where I stream Valorant.
Cool. All right, guys. So until next time, see you guys later.
Later.